There's a moment in every leader's life when the mask slips, when the brand polish and the title and the hustle falls away. And what's left is the truth. I'm Annie Gibbins, Grand Stevie Award-winning global business leader, who's made it her mission to strip leadership down to what truly matters. Because for years, I chased a version of success everyone told me I should want. But what I realized was that real power and influence, true leadership, doesn't come from just peak performance. It actually stems from authenticity. This is The Naked Leader, a podcast where we dive into the moments that test, shape, and transform the people behind the titles. So you'll hear from founders and innovators, change makers who have built extraordinary businesses and lives. But more importantly, who've learnt what it costs to stay human along the way. This isn't about perfection, it's about truth. It's about leadership without the layers. Welcome to The Naked Leader.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to The Naked Leader, the show where we strip leadership down to what truly matters so that we can have the opportunity to use vision and courage and power to lead with authenticity. And today, I am thrilled to be joined by a woman who has done exactly that across two very different worlds, creativity and commerce. Welcome to the show, Louella Hatfield Kushturian.
Thank you so much, Annie. Thank you. I'm really thrilled to be here with a
Great.
superstar like you. Absolutely.
Two superstars together. Today's going to be dynamite. Absolutely. For those of you who don't know Louella, she is a senior executive. Actually, that's an underestimation. She's an international business woman, developer, team builder, powerhouse. Over 33 years of experience expanding a multibillion-dollar beauty and wellness company across global markets. She's going to fry your brain, and she loves building thriving teams, driving growth everywhere, mentoring professionals. She's all about success, but actually by doing something that you love and is meaningful to you. And her story is really fascinating as we dive into it today, because it's not all been about business. She actually started in the world of design. So we're going to explore that as well. So let me start by asking you, Louella, your background, as I said, is a bit remarkable. When I Google stalked you, it said that you'd been to NIDA, which is our National Institute of Dramatic Arts, and had done kind of things like that with a very arty direction. And then how on earth did you start there and then end up in a global business leadership role?
Yes, it's a bit left of centre, Annie. Well, when I was younger, the direct question that you've asked me is how did I end up from design into business building?
Yes.
So I'll answer that, but we can certainly circle back to the other. I was really looking to do, I wanted to change what I was doing. I love design, and I'll come back to that story if you like. I do love design, but I felt I wanted to build something of substance. And I had tried a couple of other things. I'd actually been in the film industry for 17 years. There was a crossover, and I was working as a production designer, and mostly production designer, sometimes art director, or I did do a bit of styling, but mostly that's what I did. And I loved design, and I enjoyed the film industry, but I just felt I had I was just working all the time. I wanted other things in my life, a relationship. I don't know, my friends were going out, how I'm a people person and I didn't like missing out on things, and I just found I was working all the time. So I was looking for other options. I actually tried to get a television show, a home show up, and I have to say, truthfully, it was before any of them. And we were,
wow,
because my mum was a TV writer, I kind of knew how to do that in a basic way, and almost got it happening. We were actually negotiating with the Beyond International Group, and somebody else had the same idea. So that was a bit sad because I was really passionate about that. And but anyway, they didn't steal it, so that was fine. And I had a little homeware business making designed some mosquito nets, like Sleep Under the Stars with gold stars on them and things, but wasn't passionate about it as I'd been about the design show, and as I'd been about design when I did that. And I didn't know what to do. And I'd been to see two career guidance people, And they basically said to me, because I knew I was a people person and I knew I was entrepreneurially minded,
Yeah.
and an ideas person. I'd always had, files full of different ideas for designs for like a company that made beautiful stationery and, just lots of different things. I just was that sort of person. And they basically said to me, really, you could kind of do anything as long as it's not like science or mathematics, And I mean, that's sort of what interests you. And I was interested in advertising, but I didn't have the right skill set because I wasn't a graphic designer. And a friend of mine, Sean Brady, who I hadn't seen for years, just rang me out of the blue. And he told me that he was somebody I respected, and he told me he'd been in the States and he was working with this big company and helping them to develop in different countries, and that it was going to be opening in Australia, and he was looking for some people to help him do that. And but he just rang me to say hi, and I'm like, Sean, tell me more. What is it? And so he came over, and I saw that it was a company called New Skin, which is a multi-level marketing business. I had been approached by another company, a well-known one, a couple of times, and I'd sort of seen that previously and thought, looks interesting. I get it. I get the sort of possibilities. I'm a big picture person and I could see it, but I just wasn't excited about those companies, and the timing wasn't right for me because I was excited about other things. And even though there was no design component, which was just so weird because I had spent my whole life since I remember being 6, and from my whole childhood, I would sit in front of the television drawing plans, house plans, my ideal house, and my bedroom is like this, and, my everything, and I making Lego block houses, and I actually started doing interior design. So I did a year of interior design before I went to NIDA. And, and there's a bit of a lesson there, so I'll come back to that. But, so it was but I think I was just so desperate to change. And I just found the opportunity when Sean showed me this opportunity that I could build a global business. I could build a business that could spread around the world, that I could have friends in different countries, that the financial potential was way beyond what was possible through my career. And as a production designer, that was rewarding, very rewarding. And that I could create one where there was no ceiling, there was no boss, there was no one who would tell me, what I had to do, or that I would be accountable to. I could be as ambitious and excited and creative and driven as I wanted, and I could just build this business that could be huge and be rewarded very well. And, I'd done things when I was working as an interior designer, because when I'd worked in London at the BBC, in between doing that, because even if you're British, the only way you can get in there as a qualified designer is to do what they call summer holiday relief. And so you had to leave. You'd come in for 3 or 6 months. I got 2 6-month contracts, and that was a wonderful opportunity. And then you'd kind of leave and you'd have to do something else. And I worked as an interior designer, and one of the jobs was helping a billionairess design her house, and shopping with an endless checkbook. And so as it was wonderful to do that and help other people to have these wonderful dream homes. But I thought, well, I wouldn't mind.
I wouldn't mind a dream house myself.
Mind that. And I was terrible at saving, sort of earn my money, which was decent, and then I'd go overseas. I don't think I was particularly extravagant. I would just, if my friends invited me to go out, I'd say yes. And I had a mortgage. Apart from that, but I really wasn't saving a thing. And I could see that unless I changed something, that was just going to perpetuate. And so truly it was the business opportunity that I found compelling. And of course, it had to be based on great products. I actually wasn't particularly interested in skincare. I remember saying to Sean, are you telling me that you want me to sell skincare? Because or lipsticks. Well, we didn't have lipsticks at that time, but because I'm a designer, I'm not actually that interested. And he said, what we're talking about is you building global distribution channels through which products move. And I thought, that sounds really interesting. And, it sounds exciting. And, he showed me that, could build, would get to know people in different countries. And of course, if the products weren't fantastic, it would have all been built on air. And so I had to be satisfied on that. And even at the first meeting, he sort of said, we went up to the bathroom and tried products and, they were great, very great. And I am actually passionate about our products and have been for 33 years because you can't, nobody, it wouldn't last. Nobody would, someone might try something once, but they're not going to try it again. And so nobody would make any money. Right. So, that was important. And the culture of the company was really important. And I really love the culture of the company, and I still do. And, most of my friends still don't even get what I do. And, most of them, they just don't get it, and they don't understand why I'm so passionate about the company. But I'm extremely well traveled. As a young person, I couldn't wait to travel. Absolutely was desperate to travel. And I tell you from the heart that some of my most fun, most fulfilling, most exciting travel experiences are at, huge corporate conventions or at events with, our team in Switzerland or Paris or Asia, in different Asian markets, or here, and just, it just suits me. I really enjoy the relationships, and there are so many incredible people in our business from all walks of life. Some, really successful people, like, I don't know, people who've been directors of banks or, lawyers or doctors or actors or, just people from all different fields and different cultures. And that the cultural thing has been the completely unexpected gem or collection of gems that nobody else, I don't think that people outside this business or outside network marketing would perceive. But to help people, and this is a business about mentorship, to help people from different cultures succeed, if they're saying to you, to me or to anyone, how can I do this? Or it's about getting to know them. It's about getting to know their hopes and their dreams and their goals and their background and, what's meaningful to them. And that's could be very different if you're with someone who's a passionate Filipino who may be, from one faith, or you might be in Indonesia and you might be with somebody wearing a very different outfit and like from a completely, another lovely outfit and a completely different faith, or someone who's in Paris dressed as, in Parisian outfit. It just, people have different family values, different things that interest them. And it's just I find that fascinating. And also if we're talking sales, which, sales can be inviting people to the business, to inviting the business or the products. And I've coached people from who've had different accents and try to make them more accessible and to say there's certain things that could be helpful, and that's really interesting because, there's language, there's just so many different aspects to it that are beyond what people think. Yeah, and that I personally enjoy and have enjoyed and love. And it's the relationships, the adventures. I should say here, it's very remiss that I haven't, but I met my now husband, then partner in life, Steve Kushturian, 2 weeks before I met New Skin. And I met him at a party, and Steve was a civil engineer managing a mine and an above ground mine. And so, of course, what do you do? What do you do? I'm a designer. And 2 weeks later, I'm like, forget all that. I'm doing this. Actually, there was a crossover of a couple of years when I kind of did both. And so in my enthusiasm, I know we're not supposed to kind of talk about it all the time in social situations, but, I was so excited. I just couldn't contain myself, and I'd always bring it up, during the conversation if we were out to dinner, and he heard it so many times. And at first I sort of said to him, you should do, this is so great. You should do this. And he's like, I'm an engineer. It's not me. You've got lots of people. You've got lots of friends. I've got my 7 best friends. We go here and then we go there. It's not for me. Cutting a long story short, 6 months later, he'd heard me talk about it so much all the time, and he decided to come on board. And since that time, we've had incredible adventures, building the business together. We've lived in Singapore, Thailand, and London or the UK. We've done so much travel. At one point, we were spending 3 to 6 months of the year pre-COVID for years in Europe or traveling. Yeah, so we've had incredible adventures, and some of that was done with certain other leaders in our team that we had so much fun. We lived in London with Kirsty and Paul Cook. Kirsty was a singer and an actress. Paul was a recording engineer. I met them catching a tram in London. They were 24 and 26. And, a year after that, we're living in London together or something like that. And we can't be in the same space without laughing. We ended up living in Thailand together. They went on to the Philippines and built a business there. John Connolly, who was an ex-banker and lawyer, then married to a gorgeous French Tahitian lady. Now he has a beautiful Lebanese lady, Fadia, as a longtime partner. And but John and Chloe started to build the business in Sydney in the French community. And I'd always been a Francophile. In fact, now I speak intermediate French due to going to lessons and due to the connections with our French team. And so all of a sudden, so John and Stephen and I and Kirsty and Paul and George and Elaine, some other wonderful leaders in our business who, George is an Aussie, came into our business. We've had so many adventures living in different countries. And it's the fun, that's what kept me in the fun. And then the relationships with people in other teams. I've just come back from an event at the Gold Coast. The team that invited me, it's not my team. And there were some of my team that went. They invited me to speak, and I did. But I gained a lot by being there, as did my team members. And again, it's just the fun.
You're a fun chaser.
I'm a fun chaser, and by the way, I'm not very good with time management. Please stop me if I'm raving.
Yeah, I'm absolutely loving it. I can feel your pure joy and that excitement. It's just that childlike joy of, wow, this could be interesting. This could be good for someone who's creative. And, that's a big commit to actually do a dramatic arts school and imagine yourself having your own TV show and being able to put out that way.
As a design, the TV thing was me, like a home show. It was the creative of putting on a show like that, not being the presenter, right? It was actually, I did the production design course at NIDA. I didn't do acting. And when I had that idea, my show was called Design Show, and it was just like all those interior design shows on television, only it was before them. And I say that.
Before them, you were cutting edge.
If anyone can prove me wrong, I please do. But I apologise, but I believe that it was, I don't believe that to be the case, because it was taken over to one of the television markets in Europe by one of the big production companies. And but anyway.
But every industry is competitive. So even something like this, which is telemarketing, they're all competitive industries, and you're a very free spirit, fun chasing, creative. Has that been a challenge for you to actually still be able to stay creative in that space, or has it actually been a blessing because you just haven't worried about the hard stuff and just kind of
weird.
Above?
Well, it was so weird. And in terms of telemarketing, yes, I certainly did plenty of phone calls. I did lots of them at the time, but it wasn't really it wasn't a telemarketing thing, it certainly wasn't Yeah, I mean, I rang lots of people, but that wasn't the main thing I did. And we did many one-to-one meetings or team meetings. We used to host, meetings that people would invite to multiple times, certain times a week. Yeah. So, but in answer to your question, the weird thing was I was so ready for change that for years, like 10 to 15 years, I didn't miss art at all, which is so weird considering that was how I defined myself before that. I just didn't miss it. I felt complete, I was happy.
That's
But at a
awesome.
certain point I did feel, I need to do something a bit artistic here. And so I did a little bit of drawing, in front of television. I like to draw. And I do paint now. I paint. So I've done, some big paintings and I paint. But at one point I thought, okay, so maybe I'll do a little freelance interior design work. And so I went and did a feng shui course because I thought that would give me a bit, just a bit of an edge, something different, because I liked feng shui and, in fact, became a feng shui master. I did a couple of
Congratulations.
or the same short course twice with a really excellent master. And I was one of the paint companies, color consultants, asked Louella, for some feng shui paint advice. And I had some clients and I did that combination. But I was just too satisfied creatively because, again, people outside of, marketing or this sort of business don't imagine the creative thinking, but it is a creative thinking exercise. I mean, you're there, the company does. So, I'm sure it's clear, but I certainly didn't start New Skin. I joined New Skin. And they do the corporate marketing. They create the products and they have a marketing department. They do the brochures, and now they have social media they give us certain social media assets if we want them, photos or videos of our things, which are in both skincare and wellness products and devices, right? It wasn't like that, but there's so much creative thinking because you start with nothing. You don't have a business. You get advice from your sponsors. Sean and Cherry Brady, our sponsors, were just fabulous. And the people above them in the line, we owe an enormous debt to the people above us. You join a family. Yeah, so you inherit a system and you follow the system, but we say put your personality to a creative system. So you're thinking, well, where could I meet someone for this? Or who could I introduce this? Or what would be a way that I could promote that? There's a lot of creative thinking to it, not artistic. These days, of course, everyone has an opportunity to be artistic in terms of if they're putting together, if you're doing posts or you're creating documents. But even that, as it would be clear, I grew up before the internet. When I did design, I had a T-square. No, I couldn't even type, when I was working as a designer, truly, so I wasn't, there's all those of course I can type now and I have computer skills and I can do things, but it's pretty basic.
And I think because you're so personal, like your X factor is your personal. So while you're artistic and you can create these opportunities, I think I'm hearing and from knowing you that superpower.
That's my privilege. I'm so happy. I'm so privileged to know you. Thank you. I mean it.
Now, it's a challenge though, isn't it? Because you're in sales, like it's sales and marketing, but you've also an extremely personable connector. So your biggest ability to be successful in this industry is to build trust and connection across borders, really, with people around the world. And that's hard, isn't it? Like, or is it? Was it for you? Many people in sales will come back to me and go, "Oh, Annie, it's really hard for me to build trust with people because they don't trust me because I'm in sales." Do you know what I mean? But you don't come across sounding like that's been hard for you.
Well, I mean, sales, there's different aspects to sales, and within the business, people are good at different aspects of it, right? So my best thing, like what I'm good at is what I'm personally good at, is introducing people to the business and helping them to grow a business, like duplicating the system, right? My best suit is not actually product sales, honestly, right? So it's truly not. I would like to be better at that, and it's in no way that I don't love the products. I'm a complete product of the products. I use the products. I've been using them, use nothing else. If we make that product, I use that, and I take so many supplements. I rattle, right? Because I just, completely believe in our products. So, people tell me that I look good for my age and all of this sort of thing. And that's why I haven't used, let's just say it's a strong part of why, right? It's a big part of why.
You're
right?
all
I
in.
believe I'm all in, and I love our products, right? But, some people are better all-rounders. The best way that I personally sell products and have sold products is if I would invite someone to come and try the products. And one-on-one, I would show them and they would experience the products and see for themselves. And that's how I've sold most of the products that I have personally sold, or through the way that we would build the business, because we would say, if you're going to, I would show someone the opportunity. So I'd invite them to look at a business opportunity, which, I'd say whatever I need, whatever I said that presented it in an appropriate way, right? A true way but I would pull out the aspects of it that I was excited about that I thought they'd like, right? And then if they would get the vision and want to do it, I would say to them, well, all volume, all income comes from product movement. We do not make a cent unless you won't make a cent, Mary, Jane, David, John, you won't make Ravi, you're not going to make a cent unless people in your business are using products, right? And you need to be able, with integrity, to tell people these are wonderful products and I use them. That they're going to ask you, do you use the products? And you need to be able to say yes.
Of course they would, yes.
You need to be able to say yes, and you need to be able to tell them, I love this one and this one does this, right? So, I recommend that you join, and we have certain kits that, are helpful. It's not a rule from the company at all. You're not required to buy anything, but I would recommend that you get some products, and I suggest these, right? And that's how I've also sold a lot of products. I have sold a few, yes, I've sold some products on social media. Anybody that looks at my social media account would know it's not my strongest suit.
So I'd love to ask you, when you've grown business, when you've scaled your business in a global context, what have been the biggest learnings that you've learned? Because then you've got international teams, you've got these new cultures, new languages, new leadership styles. There's so much happening, and I find that very fascinating. What learnings could you share about, suddenly working in France or in Thailand or working with different teams who are, you're there for the fun and the opportunities and the creative, but all of a sudden,
and to help them, and very much driven to help them, because this is a people business, right? It's seriously, and that's the fun of it, right? But to be clear, because this is network marketing, so it's different, multi-level marketing, network marketing, it's different to, there's a particular model, and, different companies have different models which do determine the activity that you do, right? But the way that ours works is that there are no borders. So I know other companies do that too. We were actually, I believe, the first company to have done that. And in fact, most of the business, whatever country we're in, and we have much more business outside of Australia than we do inside Australia, much more, right? Comes from people that we introduced in Australia. And they introduced people because we taught people that's what you do. Because we were taught that. Look for people from different cultures and, work with them and teach them how to do it. And they will introduce it to to people that within their businesses. So most of the business was actually developed by people. Let's say if we look at John and Chloe, they built within the French community in Sydney. And when New Skin opened in France, they went to France. When they moved to France, and they started to build within the community there, right? And and then they looked for people there, and then they met someone who introduced someone in Switzerland who was Swiss, and as a couple who were Swiss and French living in France, and they took the business to Switzerland, right? And then it grew from there to other markets. And it's like George met his wife Elaine in Singapore. We actually went to live there, and yes, we did. Yes, we introduced people in Singapore, right? But George and then George and Elaine built a wonderful business. But we met George. George came from somebody that I met in Sydney, right? Actually, I met him. I met his sponsor sitting on a plane, right? And we had a conversation. By the time I got to Melbourne, George's sponsor, Grant, was interested because, I just asked him what he did. He asked me what I did. And, by the time we got there, he said, look, I'm interested to know more. When you come back to Sydney, let me know. Right. And then he ended up joining, and then he introduced George, and George has become a huge leader in our business. Right. George Kaligaros. And George and Elaine Kaligaros. Right. And they built within the Vietnamese community in Sydney because they wanted a Vietnamese team, and that team spread to Vietnam, right? And in Australia. So, I was working with Vietnamese people in Australia, but then when we'd go to Vietnam, those relationships were there. And that was the same in France. So when we would go, they would tell them, edification is something where you edify people above you, and you tell your team, hey, these people are coming, they're very successful. And so when you go there is that respect that's built in, right? And so they're open to listening, but also they know that nothing would give me greater pleasure than for me to help, if you're in my team, for me to help. You've got people at the meeting and they join because of what I say, or that, everyone comes to a training and that we're able to help or mentor. Or we do, one of the ways that we very frequently mentor people is that we would meet with small groups of people sitting in hotel lobbies or individual leaders, and we'd answer their questions. And from our experience, sincerely tell them what we think might help them. Whether they take that advice or not is up to them.
A very mentoring leadership style for sure. Who do you
Could
have?
You repeat that? I'm sorry.
I said your leadership. You've got a very strong mentoring style of your leadership because of the business that you've been trained in. Do you have a mentor out of the business, or is your whole world in the business?
I haven't really. Oh well. We went to Tony Robbins. We went to Stephen and I at one point did the big Mastery University. So we went to had a week in Hawaii. It was health mentoring. We didn't even know that. We found we were on this restricted diet for a week, but learning good stuff. That was years ago. That was good, and we did other courses he did. So we learned a lot there. I've learnt a lot from books so the answer is no. I've not really had an independent, have I? I probably get off the phone and think, oh my goodness, there's someone really important. I had personal friends. I had a wonderful friend, Michael, who, I respected a great deal. He's no more, unfortunately. But that was a friendship. Really, did I have not really any other sort of external mentors? As I said, I'm going to get off the phone and think, oh my gosh, I forgot someone hugely
That's all
important.
right. But you sound like you've got enough people in your network that you've been
Nathan,
watching and learning from, and it must be like a little roadmap of even when they get
it's a huge roadmap. I mean, there's a man. Forgive me. There's a man called Nathan Ricks who unfortunately died in a plane crash, his own plane, a
Oh.
couple of years ago. And we were on his ninth level. So he didn't even get paid on our business, ninth levels of groups, right? But he was the most brilliant, generous, incredible person. And he taught us. He created this system, and it was a complete mentor. It was a way of building, and that was what was duplicated. So we followed that. So our business. So the other leaders in the business, have duplicated that system. Mark and Jerry Mabry, and then John McClelland, and then Sean and Sherry, very, very strongly, these incredible mentors who were there for us and still help and work with our team. And we try to do that, but because but saying that, I love personal development. I've always, Wayne Dyer, who is no longer around, he wrote The Power of Intention. That's an incredible book. I lent it to someone, and I recently was looking for it. I don't know where it is. I'm going to buy another copy. I love that. I'm always up for. So many people I listen to. The other day, because I have a new passion with our, there's a new thing that our business has, and I have a particular niche aspect, something I want to develop. And so I started to do the Miracle Morning again yesterday. I thought, I need to do that, because I'm driven to do that. I need discipline. It's not actually my strength, to be honest, that sort of thing. But yeah, there's room for growth.
There's always room for growth. So just to close then, so how has all of this incredible experience changed the way you think about purpose and balance and success? Like, do you go, I feel like I know a recipe for me, and has it changed over the years? Or do you think, if you look at you and your husband have both been in the same business, but you'd probably see success in similar ways and different ways? I'd love you to share that with our listeners.
I think success, so you're right, balance is a big thing, and but that's not my strong suit. Okay. And so, as I said, I do paint, and I have got I love listening to music and, things like that. I have other interests, and there's been lots of time I haven't done, I've done some new skin, but not, certainly not all the time. Right now, I'm wanting to do more, to put more balance and to do a lot more creative art and things. So this is my studio. So it's my brand new, just renovated studio. And that's why it's so bare, why this is such a bare space. My office actually just doesn't have a very interesting background. So I thought this doesn't look that interesting either, but it will be. This is a wall, that wall over there, art is created there. Okay, I hang things on the track and do huge works, right? So I'm going to be doing a lot more, right? So balance, I think it is about I think balance is really important. Steve actually is having much more balance now. He's following his passion, which is wine, and he's actually doing the Master of Wine.
Amazing.
And it is amazing, and he's one of
very challenging, very hard.
It's the highest thing you can possibly do. It's the highest level in wine that you can do.
Wow.
That and the Master Sommelier of the absolute top, and he was one of 3 people to pass in Australia in the first year, stage 1. He just did that, and 2 more stages to go, right? So
but that's the balance, isn't it? That's the following your own.
That's him just totally following his passion, right?
Yeah.
But when you talk about purpose, because our company has wonderful humanitarian programs about, particularly focused on children. We have a wonderful program, Nourish the Children, that is about feeding starving kids. And that's something I'm very passionate about, and I'm actually an ambassador within the company for that. But so I am very motivated, and like many people, like really many people, and I'm sure that you do the same. I support certain charitable organizations, and within this new aspect of the business that I would like to develop, a part of that is very much there's very strong, definite health benefits that I believe will really enhance people's lives, the quality of many, many people's lives, and through enhanced health, and I find that very exciting, right? And even when I think, and I was sort of thinking the last few days, because Stephen's always saying to me, you need more balance, you're so driven, and, you need to be painting more and doing this, which, as I said, I'm going to. But within that, if I think about just doing that, actually, then if I think about the people who can benefit from this from this new device and new thing that we have, and the new aspect to it and everything. And I just think that there's so many people that are going to benefit. I'm just find it, to just say, look, I'm not going to do it. Look, perhaps I'll get to that. When I hand the baton on to certain other people, I may come to that and just, and really just be arty-farty and, run around traveling and enjoying the mentoring side, which I still want to do because I love the relationships and the friendships, right? And that gives me purpose, right?
Yeah.
So that I feel success from that. Look, I like, I being a designer and all of that, I love material, I love beautiful things. So that's very nice, and to be able to enjoy the beautiful material things and go to beautiful places and eat in lovely places and travel in style, live somewhere lovely. I enjoy that, right? So, yeah, but balance is not my strong suit, really.
You're all in one way or all in the other way. That's all right. None of us are great at everything. So it's about finding that, and also things that you shared today, as you get older as well, it's nice to just explore that creativity in different ways. Like now suddenly going, in my house I will build or sort of reassign a creative space, to be able to be going off and doing wine courses, to be able to intentionally saying I'd rather do more with a charity now. I think those are all wonderful, things to show that it's more about being uniquely you and feeling satisfied and content and constantly evolving. But then you bring more of you back into that business and the relationships that you are continuing to build. And so therefore I think we're always recalibrating with this whole world of balance, there's no real recipe to it. Oh my goodness, we could talk all day, Louella. What an inspiring conversation. I just love how
Thank you, Annie.
you go from a focus of creativity, and you are the epiphany of creative spirit, I tell you, but to link that to global leadership and to be able to do it your way. I think it's really refreshing to hear that, because so many people think they've got to get into a job and a way and a plan, whereas you really have just backed yourself, gone all in. And you've mentioned the word fun so many times over this conversation.
That's even in our company's mission stuff.
See, that's why it aligns with you, right? Because it's you're the sort of person who just wants to get out of bed and go, today's going to be a great day. We're going to have some fun here, and you can see the relationships are fun to you because you're in the right space. The creativity, the trying the products, the sharing opportunities, the mentoring others. When you get that balance, and that recipe is different for everybody, for our listeners, it's finding what that balance is. And if you can position yourself there, then I tell you what, it's almost like, I can't believe I get paid for this, right? Like you are in that space.
Right.
That's right. Wonderful.
That's right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Annie. And I seriously have so much respect for you. I'm just in awe of what you've done, and, Grand Stevie winner, and that armful of awards. Incredible. You are a huge inspiration. You inspire me enormously.
Well, there we go. We're sharing the love, sharing the inspiration. Thank you so much for joining me and reminding us all that leadership is not just about strategy. It's about heart. It's about imagination. It's about courage to think differently. It's about backing yourself when other people would go, what on earth are you doing? I thank you so much. Those of you who want to catch up with Louella, you'll find her details in the show notes today. And remember, friends, I want you to continue challenging where you're at and what will bring you a bit of fun, bit of joy, bit of creativity, because leadership isn't just about titles and power, as we know. It's about the impact you can have. It's about being curious. It's about being heartfelt. It's being bold at times. There's so much to it. So until next time, have a little fun exploring, everyone. Thanks for joining us on The Naked Leader today.
Thank you so much, Annie. Bye. Bye, everyone.
Thank you for tuning in to The Naked Leader. If today's conversation challenged your thinking or inspired new action, definitely share it. Leave me a comment. Keep the message alive. You can catch every episode on YouTube, Spotify, or all major podcast platforms. And when you're ready to take the next big bold step for you to start, grow, or scale your business or career, drop over to anniegibbins.com. I look forward to meeting you very soon.